Hey, what's up, hockey fans, and welcome in to this edition of This Week in Flyers Hockey. I'm your host, James Scorza, with you, and with me, as always, is a group of companions on a very exciting week for the Orange and Black. Countdown is officially on. Playoff chances, hopefully, still in the hopes for all of us here today. But joining me once again is Austin Hammel and Joey Marks, joining me like they always do. Gentlemen, what a week for the Orange and Black. Where do we begin?
Oh man, excitement, and yeah, shootouts.
Shootouts, right? Yeah, that's crazy to think about because obviously, um, it was been their kryptonite going back to 16 years on the day that the Flyers went to the shootout. But obviously, man, it's just crazy to think about. The Flyers are actually, I mean, we were a couple weeks ago, obviously, if you didn't see our show, we were paying our flag for the Orange and Black to make the postseason. But now the countdown's officially on, boys. And honestly, it's going to get much exciting than that more than anything like that. But Austin, obviously, you didn't see it. We didn't get a chance to talk to you last week, but it's good to see you, man. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good, man. Feeling great, and honestly, I'm feeling great about this team coming out of the break. They looked a little slow to start off against Washington when they came out of the Olympic break, but they have been on fire ever since then. I mean, four of their last five it's absolutely incredible. And like Joe said, the overtime and shootout thrillers that we've had during this run so far has been making for great hockey.
Absolutely, yeah. That's the one thing I would take out of it too. So basically, let's talk about the weekly recap that the Flyers brought up this week. So there's a couple games that stuck out to me. Obviously, this week was the week. Like obviously, it started in the beginning of the week with a shootout win against Toronto up in I forget what the arena is called now. I used to be called Air Canada Center, but I think it's called Scotiabank Arena. So they won that one in the shootout, and then I think the one thing that was a real positive was that the game on Saturday that they actually looked like it was like giving Pittsburgh the lead every chance they got until finally they said enough was enough in that game on Saturday to beat the Penguins. And also the greatest part about it was too, if anybody didn't see Trevor Zegras' goal that he slowed down and got like with the fast pace that he scored, it's just like it's kind of like I'm gonna steal a little bit of a Muddy Duck kind of quote here, kind of like how like it's like in slow motion with Charlie Conway, and he comes in and just scores, kind of like the same kind of scenario.
Triple
So
D,
Detroit,
triple
yeah,
D.
exactly. Yep, you know where I'm going at, guys. So but overall, this is probably like even Austin said, this is probably one of the best. Probably these last 2 weeks have been a real positive for them, getting some good overtime points, even shootout points, and even more so getting 2 points I think way necessary. So Joe, I'll ask you the first question here. Um, Very good week for the Flyers overall. I thought it was a very good week for them, more precisely. But overall, tonight, they take on the Rangers, they take on the Capitals again on Wednesday, and then they take on Minnesota right after that on that Thursday night. Overall, how do you express the? I mean, how can this like springboard into this streak that they're on right now continue on into the week that they have and try to springboard that into maybe more wins to go one step further to make a positive poise to make the playoffs happen here in 2026, guys?
There's two keywords that stand out to me:
Hmm.
um, poise and persistence.
Hmm.
You have to put the pressure on and give yourself the confidence to say, "Okay, we're building on something." But you have to have the poise to stay in the moment,
Hmm.
to do what Trevor Zegers did, to kind of put yourself in a situation where, yes, there's urgency, but putting poise in your game allows other teams that think, okay, they're they're not ready for the big time. Well, the Flyers are showing with even replacement guys. We talked about Tyson Forrester and losing him earlier in the year.
Right.
Some of these guys, like, it's difficult to always bounce back when you're dealing with guys that are still learning the game.
Hmm.
But when they have enough poise and they have enough persistence on just staying in the game and keeping in the game
Hmm.
and having the poise to take the game when it's theirs to take. The shootouts were a prime example because, you know, Dan Villard, if it's not for him, we don't win those games. Like that's the difference. Dan Villard in the shootout has just been magnificent. But more to the point, someone like Trevor Zegras is just NHL video game level.
Right.
Amazing. Like that's the difference. I think going into the next couple games, the pressure it's going to be on because these are all teams that are going to be high caliber. They're no easy games this week. And so right now you just got to continue to be poised and you got to have persistence when the game gets tough. Because you may not be on top all the time in the game, but you have to have enough persistence to be able to fight back and claw back every time.
Absolutely. I agree on 100% on what you said there, Joe. My dad, Joe Scorza, brings in a very good point. He says that the Flyers closed the gap pretty quickly on that wild card position, and if they keep their foot on the gas, they can make a long run to catch Boston for that last slot in the postseason, obviously. So, Austin, I'll ask you this question. Obviously, you thought about this weekend that, speaking of Boston, I mean, the good thing about it, too, was that Boston sadly won the game on Saturday against the Capitals, but then last night lose a tough one against the Penguins. But overall, you look at this game, look at this scenario that the Flyers right now have right here, right now. What would be the motivation? What kind of motivational key would be the Flyers to try to springboard this into a little bit of a streak, let alone that it's been that the last 2 weeks have been a real positive for the Flyers ever since this Olympic break?
Honestly, I feel like the motivation's the same that it was to start the year. A lot of, not just local, but national hockey pundits are counting Philly out consistently.
Mm-hmm.
You're like I've been saying, you're playing with house money. Your expectation is very low. A lot of people were very down on the moves that were made at the trade deadline, which understandably so. You didn't see them, try and make a big splash move like a lot of other teams did. Detroit went and got Justin Falk. Nick Foligno was traded over to Minnesota to play with his brother and the lush amounts of talent that the Minnesota Wild have this year. But you did also see some negatives around the league. Gabe Landeskog injured. Evgeny Malkin currently serving a 5-game suspension for basically baseball batting Rasmus Dahlin in the face. I mean, come on, like that was brutal. But you're seeing a lot of opportunity for this Philadelphia team to just continue to run the way they've been running. And a thing that I wanted to sort of touch on, Matvei Michkov has put in some work coming out of the break. I mean, the shootout goal that he scored against Stolars, man, he undressed him quite quickly too. Like that was some really fancy handwork to be able to just have Stolars commit to that forehand so hard and then just come back and hit a little flopper of a backhander to get a goal in that shootout. But the other thing that stays the same is continue to try and steal points where you can.
Right.
3 of the 4 wins that Philadelphia has had have gone to either overtime or a shootout, and you want to try and relish in those opportunities every chance that you get, because that's even more points that come back from you off of the table. So the more that you can continue to grind out these games, I know there's still a long stretch ahead, but Boston's becoming inconsistent. You're seeing some of these teams not being able to put away teams you've seen them put away earlier in the year, which again, echoing back to the interview that we had with Jim Jackson during the break, he's absolutely right. A lot of these teams are locking in defensively, but at the same time, some of them that are locking in defensively are losing a bit of their touch offensively.
Right.
And it's starting to show a little bit, and teams are starting to expose when they're trying to make those adjustments to get back to being an offensive-minded team. They're cracking a bit on defense, and they're finding those cracks and hitting them consistently. So with Philadelphia, it's just going to be the same thing that it's always been. Grind out every single game you can, steal as many points as you can, and try and run into the playoffs with as much momentum as possible.
Yeah, that's the thing too, because I think the other thing that was a real positive for the Flyers, obviously, We'll talk about what the Flyers did earlier in the week. The trade deadline loomed, and obviously you see some players like Nick Delorier go, and also see other players like I forget who. Oh, that's right, Bobby Brink went to Minnesota, so it was good to see that too. But to piggyback what you guys said about the streak that the Flyers have been on, and also the inconsistency woes that Boston has had, that's going to help out the Flyers a lot if you can find ways to see Boston, like for an example, last night that actually had a comfortable lead against the Penguins, and without Malkin or Crosby, they were able to lose that game and see players like a Tommy Novak and get some opportunities and see some players that are like unknown for Pittsburgh. And obviously, the thing that's been the real positive is too for the Flyers is that we also have to bring up here in these couple wins against like let alone teams that are in the conference right now. Couple players that obviously coming up in full stride, especially in their first game in the NHL, and that's Alex Bump, because I think Alex Bump this week, he played his first game in the NHL on Saturday, and when you know it, the first NHL goal and his first NHL game, that's basically something to rely on here. Obviously, if you score your first goal in your first NHL game, you must be doing something right. It's kind of like when Sidney Crosby scored his first goal in his first game in the NHL, and it's the same thing with Ovechkin. It's the same thing with many players included that are real significant, and the next thing you know, they were like real bona fide studs years and years later, obviously. But to me, the one thing I was really excited to see on Saturday is that like they would keep on. It was kind of like Rocky versus Apollo. Like the Penguins would like hand them with a right jab, the Flyers were handing with another jab, and it was like back and forth until finally that shootout, and they just said, "Okay, enough was enough. We ain't going the distance this time with you guys. We're gonna win this game." And obviously, that's what they did on Saturday, and it's definitely a springboard into a little bit of a streak now. And even shootouts, the one thing that still surprises me the most with this team is that like the shootouts that they had before, we will always dread about going into a shootout because we always thought it was a scheduled loss, like what Doc Rivers would call it. But now you think about it, they were doing so much well with the shootouts this year. It's kind of like I'm living in bizarro world, like thinking, okay, like is this real life? I mean, like the quote Field of Dreams, is this heaven? No, it's Iowa, but I'm just kidding with that too. We'll talk about that later on when baseball season comes around, if Harper starts to be more elite than not elite. But obviously, to my point here with the Flyers, it's just been a real exciting time right now for this Flyers team. And when we talked about it with Jim Jackson, I asked him, I think it was my last or probably one of the questions I asked him was, like, does the Flyers desperately need of a reset here? And I'm thinking it's like that's exactly what the Flyers needed, especially after that streak they were on that they couldn't find wins in any way necessary. But that Olympic break, I don't know what it was that happened, but that reset happened. I think it came at a right time for them because I think right now they're poised better, like Joey said early on in the program here. And the one thing I'm more excited about is that they're more resilient when the time calls for it too. I think they are going to be – I think tonight's going to be a good example of that against the Rangers. Like if the Flyers make the postseason and become that number 8 seed right now more than anything, I mean, we've seen it before with them being the 7th seed, and that took them to the Stanley Cup Finals in 2010. So it's not about who's the best team. It's about who's the hottest team. It's the same thing with baseball too. I mean, those Cinderella teams that are unknown make a lot of excitement. And I think the most important thing too is that they're getting hot at the right time. And it's perfectly going to springboard into tonight, especially that I would be sure that the Flyers will hopefully get off to a better start. I mean, they got off to a better start like they did on Saturday. But the one thing I want to see here tonight is the same momentum into that game against the Penguins and the Maple Leafs and turn that into a little bit of a positive streak going into the week that they're going to look like, guys.
Yeah, I mean, look, Alex Bump coming up, it shows me one thing, and it's something that JJ mentioned when we interviewed him.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the Flyers have a lot of depth that's not even up here yet, and we've mentioned that on a couple shows. It sucks to let Bobby Brink go, but when you have Alex Bump like waiting in the wings, you want to give the kid a run, especially in this stretch run. Look, some of this could springboard all of this whole team of all these youngsters into playoff contention.
Mhm.
And both me and Austin said this the other show, which was even if the Flyers get in and win around, or at least get in and get some playoff experience, it matters for one major reason. These kids are young. They're still learning. They don't know what they don't know. It's like if they win, they take it as house money at this point. If they get into the playoffs, it's like, the coach is taking you out for pizza. Like
Right.
here, the thing that this team will have to deal with is taking the playoff experience and converting it as far as they can, because the further they get, the better their experience level becomes.
Mhm.
And this is why someone like Alex Bump coming up, this is why guys that like Devin Barkey and, Grunstrom and stuff like, there's a reason why these guys mean so much to this organization.
For sure.
And I think you're going to start to see a lot of that youthful talent. Look, you're absolutely right. Alex Bump having his first goal in his first game, 1-for-1. Check that box. Look, if this kid is as good as people have advertised, and JJ, when you talked to us, he said he is as good as advertised. We just have to see it in the NHL. I would not be surprised with the other talent that the Flyers do not have on the main roster quite yet, that more of the same will happen in the coming months. When we go into offseason, I would not be surprised if Danny Briere traded someone else to bring to open up a slot for another one of these young players. We have a good problem to have within rebuild. We have a rotation not only on the main roster but in the organization as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's. I think Austin. I think Joey nailed it on the head about what the poise that the Flyers are going to bring to the table and these next few. I mean, obviously, yeah, sure, they're still in the rebuild. Obviously, that's the most important key here. But having those players, but I mean, I think the one thing I wasn't annoyed about like them not getting like a big key component in the trade deadline. But obviously, yeah, sure, Bobby Brink was a good player. I mean, he was good, but obviously sometimes you have to move one step ahead, and also you don't want to. And I think the reason why they brought up Alex Bump is because it opened it like even Joey said, it opened up a roster spot when Bobby Brink got traded to Minnesota. And yeah, sure, I mean, Nick Delorier was a good player, but he was a fourth liner. I mean, sure, he was a good enforcer to get. So he was kind of like the old Riley Cote, Dan Carcillo that tried to get the crowd wound up, even though the team, like, obviously he wasn't a scorer, obviously. Let's keep it real here. But he was more of a...
This is a question I have to ask for both of you.
Sure.
Rasmus Ruusalainen, who we all pegged as someone that was definitely going to be moved, wasn't. Why do you think? I'll start with you, Austin. Why do you think that was?
Well, from what I was hearing, the Flyers had a price set for what they wanted for Ristolainen, and teams thought it was too high.
Gotcha.
Which is why a team like a Detroit, instead of trying further to pursue a guy like a Ristolainen, went to a team that's in a heavier rebuild than Philadelphia in St. Louis and went and got Justin Falk. So I mean, there's a lot of good caliber defensemen out there, but you also have to remember with Ristolainen, he missed a lot of time this year.
He did.
Is he good? Yes. He's definitely a good defenseman. But when you're trading for somebody, you're trading based off of the current performance and what the expectation is for whatever time is left in the contract. And his current performance is too small of a sample size. He is playing extremely well. Honestly, I think it's the best I've seen him in a Flyers uniform since he got brought over. But he missed too much time, so there's not really enough of a sample size to be able to gauge if the price that we were looking for was even worth it. So I feel like it made a lot of sense for other teams to go and pursue other options.
Yeah, and I think that's perfectly well said by you too, Austin. Is that I think if any, like even my dad Joe Scorza brings up a good point here, says that Roosters Rusto, pardon me, wasn't high on other teams' lists. So for the price, it's the Flyers wanted it, like especially like if they wanted Rusto, if like say for example he gets traded to Dallas, I mean they're not going to give us like Wyatt Johnston for cheap. It had to be like someone like, dare I say it, I mean, like with the injury front that Rusto has had in the years past, I mean, obviously it's going to show why they probably teams didn't want to take a flyer on them. Kind of like what the Eagles are doing right now. Or you think about the trading clause, obviously it's free agency, like how much the price will be for Dallas Goedert to get. Like the same kind of level it's the same level of price, the same level like Rusto was trying to do there too. And yeah, sure, if he went to like Minnesota, obviously you're not going to get like Kaprizov or Matt Boldy. Maybe like you'll get somebody in that line. Like maybe if it was like if they didn't trade like Marco Rossi, like what they did with Vancouver in the year when they traded Quinn Hughes to Vancouver for a player that we name later. And obviously, I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, and the other thing too with Rusto too is that. Yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, was it? Am I annoyed that he is still here? Obviously, I mean, it was probably more like the reason why that the Flyers did not want to trade him is because it's either that they were asking for another player in return because they didn't trust Rusto at the same time. But I think the other thing too is that with Ristolainen, I think it might help him out now is because I think it gives a little bit of I think to put it in retrospect here, I think it's good to know that the Flyers will keep him around and try to make him play a little bit more and more. But obviously, the injury bug has been his bugaboo for the last handful of years since we got him. But yeah, I mean, I think I understand why Danny Briere did it, but I think the other thing too is that I think they probably reason why they brought up they got Oliver Bunk in the wings and also Porter Matrone and also other young players coming up really soon too, and I agree with that too. But they also wanted high prospects in return. That's the other thing too. That's where it was kind of like where I was going at. That like if you get like Ristolainen in a trade, like you probably want to get like dare I say like Malcolm Celebrini-esque like in return, but obviously you're not gonna get that if it's Ristolainen. I mean it could be like a Kevin LeBanc if he was still in the league, obviously, but that's kind of like it's kind of like hit and miss about what kind of players you wanted back in return, and if it's like other prospects because they don't trust Ristolainen, or more if it's like a salary dump for them, then they're gonna be like, "No, I'm out." So that's kind of like how I was with the Ristolainen thing. But overall, I understand why Danny Briere did it. I kind of trying to define the resolution here, but I think that's probably why they probably did it more than anything.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at what Detroit gave up for Falk. It was their first round pick in 26, San Jose's third rounder in 26, a forward prospect and a defenseman prospect. So I mean, Detroit had to give up some stuff to St. Louis to be able to make that trade happen. And if that's the deal they wound up making instead, it just only makes you wonder how much higher the asking price for Risto was.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's a good point, though. I think that's a valid point because you think about it too. But I mean, with Justin Falk, I mean, yeah, sure, he's a good player, but he wasn't like, dare I say it, Al McInnes territory, So it's kind of like the same kind of. I mean, that's the other thing too. With Justin Falk, he's been around for so long. Obviously, the price would be like for Ristolainen, it's kind of like okay, like what do you want in return? Obviously, and they'll be like, oh, I wanted like one of your key component players and that are in the pipeline for like the Bunks, the Matrones, like you want somebody back in return that is like one of your key prospects. I mean, but the way Detroit got him, I mean, even St. Louis. I I think St. Louis probably like maybe it's just me. Maybe St. Louis like just wanted to get rid of him just to get rid of him. Maybe, but I think at the same time too, I think it's a hefty price for especially for St. Louis to trade away somebody like that, let alone like this. I won't say he was like successful, but at the same time too, I mean, if you're priority one, we're not trading away our first round pick for Justin Falk. That's not going to happen. That same thing would happen with Ristolainen too. So, I understand why St. Louis did it, but at the same time too, it's just like wow, it's just like all this for like a 35-year-old. I don't know how old he is, but like I said, I mean, it was just. Like the price will be too high for them is all I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the Blues did a lot of selling at the deadline, so they're pretty set for their rebuild going forward.
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure they moved Braden Shen as well. I think
Yeah,
Colton
they did.
Parayko also got moved. So like they saw a lot of guys get shifted around at the deadline. So I mean, if they were able to get, like I said, they were able to get quite the haul for Justin Falk. So who knows what Philadelphia was asking for Ristolainen. I mean,
Mhm.
as much as people hate it, I think the Bobby Brink trade was actually not too bad. I mean, sure, Jiricek is not somebody who's been able to find a home anywhere in the past couple of years. I believe we're his third team in 3 years. But you know, Bobby Brink's a good talent. You want to be able to see him get some playoff experience should things not go right with the team this year. And he's been around long enough that, you know, he's still a young budding talent. Get him onto a team with a bunch of other young guys that are already at their honestly, they're starting to break through their development ceiling, and let him just go to work with those guys. I mean, it's him, it's Hughes, and Kaprizov. Basically, you know, he's going to be learning from a couple of really, really talented players out there in Minnesota. So, I mean, I wish him the best of luck. I feel like it was a good move for not just for Philadelphia and what they got back, but for Bobby Brink for what he's going to be able to do out there in Minnesota.
Yeah, I think excuse me. I think the other thing too, before we move on here, I think the positive here for the Flyers is that with Bobby Brink, I think it was. I mean, obviously at the time, I kind of had I was like a little bit of a head scratcher. I'm thinking, okay, what are you going to get back in return? If you trade away Bobby Brink, I want somebody like that. I mean, sure, it's not Matt Boldy. Sure, it's not Kaprizov. And sure, it's not somebody like a Jared Spurgeon, God forbid. But at the same time, too, I think that the thing that you said it best there too, Austin, is that give him experience with young players on that team and see how he gels with them. I think that's exactly my point too, is because I think with Bobby Brink, I think this is what could be a good fit for him to see how much success he has with that young team that they have in Minnesota. And I mean, come playoff time, I would say right now, if the Flyers make the postseason, I will be looking forward to see what they do, obviously, and I will be very anxious to see what Minnesota does. Whatever team they're playing, either it's against Dallas or Colorado, and Minnesota might be a preview of the Western Conference Final if it comes down to that. But I mean, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good teams on that. I mean, yeah, sure. It wasn't a big disappointment that we had to let him go, but at the same time too, I kind of understand why they did it, because now it brings up, like, even Joey, like I brought up here, and like we brought up here, that it opens the door for those young players that are in the prospects that are coming up sooner rather than later. It'll be a good positive for those guys like Bump and Matrone and even Nesbitt to come up next year and see what these young guys do. I mean, Brink did a very good job. I would agree with that. But I think that now the ceiling is going to be set for those other prospects to see what they do, let alone the success that they'll have early on in the season, and also continue to springboard it into next year to see what the other players like Brink, I'm not Brink, but like those players I brought up here, to see what they will bring to the table, especially when they come up next year or when the time calls for it.
Yeah, and you got to kind of keep in mind there's a bottleneck that's going to be occurring in the Flyers organization between the farm system and the main roster. And so the Flyers have to figure out, okay, how do we get rid of the bottleneck and still grow the team?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's always the predicament in a rebuild, is that sometimes prospects don't work out and it just looks like you're not hitting on anything.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen that in Philadelphia. But then there's the other side of that coin where it's like you're hitting on everything. You're hitting on most of the things. And then you're like, okay, but we can't play all of them.
Right.
I remember when Travis Sanheim first got drafted and came here, you had Hag, you had Sanheim, Timonen, you had a lot of these defensemen. It was a bottleneck of defensemen, both
Even
on the main
Grossman at the
roster.
time, Nicholas Grossman too.
Yeah, it was a bottleneck at the time with the main roster and the minor leagues. And the Flyers had to get rid of some guys that they liked, but they had to get rid of them in order to bring them bring that young talent up. And you gotta bear in mind, it's better to bring these young talents up now and get them NHL experience.
Sure.
Because the speed of the NHL game is far faster than the AHL game.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing too, Joe. I think the other thing that I would agree on too is that yeah, I mean it'll be definitely a focus next year when these players come up from the from the Ontario League and also the American League to see what they do here too. But obviously the thing I was really excited about too is that on Saturday when Alex Baum making his NHL debut, I was thinking to myself, I think this probably now opens the door, like Ristolainen probably, we can probably say probably at the end of the season, like depending on situation here, that there's coming a couple players that were known here in Philly, like Rusto, probably maybe we'll probably have to see him go. We'll probably see, but I understand why they're gonna let like players like that go, but at the same time too, like they want to bring up those key component players that are in the pipeline to see what they have in store for the season, and also have them have like I wouldn't say sustained success, but at the same time too, but have the same just to see what like get their feet wet in the NHL level, and it's gonna be fun to see next year when all these players come up from that Ontario League and the American League and see what they do in the NHL ice on an NHL ice more than anything.
Yeah, and sort of like what you were referencing, Joe. It's almost like around that time where the Flyers made a bunch of moves to trade defensemen at the trade deadline, so the guys like Shane Gostisbehere could come up, right. Where he wound up getting a really good run with Philadelphia, and then he wound up being able to be sold off for a decent price when he, his value was highest. Not even thinking that way, but the move of moving Brink to Minnesota opened up that spot for Alex Baum to come in. Not only did he score his first goal in his first NHL game against Pittsburgh, he scored it with his family in attendance. And that's what makes it even better. Cool. And another first for that game, Jamie Drysdale had his first career fight in that game.
Yeah.
By defending his buddy. That's what I like. He saw the guy get hit, and Drysdale didn't even hesitate to drop the gloves. And look, when I heard it, I was like, wait, but Drysdale's not a fighter. Like, what are you doing, Drysdale? And like,
that was my thought too.
Put the gloves back on. Like, do you know what you're getting into? And look, sometimes, and
somebody has to fill with Deloitte shoes. I guess it was Drysdale.
Hey, I mean, look, I was the grinder on teams I played, and and there would be some guys that never would fight. They would just like signal me and be like, go get him. And I'm like, okay. But here's the thing. Sometimes your push comes to shove, even the stars drop the gloves. And I mean, I'm not calling Drysdale that, but I've seen guys that it's not characteristic for them to drop the gloves, and then once they drop the gloves, you see the eyes and you could see the eyes and the demeanor change going, what did I just get myself into? Right. Like the realization of, okay, went too far, went one step too far. and it's like, okay. So then I would come over and I like kind of shove them so that they would just get into a scrum, and once they get into a scrum, then I knew that the referee would like break it up. Right. So the guy would always come over to me and be like, thank you for that. I was like, it's fine. You didn't get punched in the face. Right. And he's like, well, that's a plus. I was in over my head with that. But Drysdale did well, and I'm proud of him. Like he stuck with it.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Who was the one that you dropped the gloves with? I got him in. Wasn't wasn't anybody big, like obviously not like Letang, like
No, it wasn't Letang. It was another guy.
Achari?
I forget.
No, I'm gonna see if I can find it.
Oh, okay.
But, yeah, I mean the fact that he dropped them, I was like, whoa, okay.
Last time I saw, well, actually, the reason why I brought up Letang because I think it was that brawl back in 2012 when it was like Crosby dropped the gloves with Giroux, and it was like Letang like right near the benches. It was a Letang and then Voracek. It was like a whole melee,
It
That
was
was a fun time.
the player that he dropped the gloves with was Avery Hayes.
Ah, gotcha. Okay.
So
Gotcha.
I mean that's the thing though, James, is like when you see guys like Giroux and Sid the Kid drop the gloves,
Right.
you kind of go, they're not supposed to do that. Like
Even Teeman had caught me off guard when I saw it too. I was like, wow, Teeman didn't even dropping the gloves. Holy shit.
yeah, I mean that's the thing is like people think, oh well, the star players fight. I'm like, no, they have other people for that. There's other role players for that.
Well, there was another one. It was like Scott Hartnell dropped the gloves with like Craig Adams, I think, and then but Hartnell was a fighter before he became a sport.
Hartnell was known to every once in a while, but like more along the lines of like seeing a guy like almost like a Simone Gagne drop gloves with somebody. You're like, dude, you literally never do that. What the hell happened out there? And he's like, I just got tired of their shit. Like, I feel like that was kind of the thing with Drysdale. Like, bro, you're not going to keep doing this shit. Like
that happens. It happens. It's like you just get fed up and you're just like, I've had enough. And you drop the gloves. But here's the thing is like that kind of guy, because he's not used to putting himself in that position, drops the gloves and then realizes, I don't know what I'm doing here.
Drop gloves, grab a hold, and then the first thing that goes through their brain is, oh shit, what now?
Yeah. and I mean, like that, it was so interesting because like when I was in juniors, now, mind you, 17, 18, the coach that I had, I don't know if it'd be legal today. Like, I don't know if a coach could teach 17 and 18-year-olds. So it's at least 17, you're still a minor. But, like, they're teaching us how to fight. Like, they're teaching us, okay, if a guy grabs your jersey like this is what you do. This is how you reverse the grip.
Right.
This is how – and I'm sitting there going, we're doing, like, Cobra Kai shit over on the ice. I'm like, okay, coach, when do we get into the hockey? Oh, you don't worry about the hockey. You'll get to the hockey. Don't worry. And then soon enough, we're doing like blue line pushes, 100 of those. And I'm like, oh, great. Fantastic. So here's
the hockey.
Yeah. I had to open I had to open my big fat mouth. I'm like, God damn it.
Oh, geez. Oh shit, that sucks, man.
No, yeah, that's like even like I still remember when he was with the Flyers, Wayne Simmons was training with Bernard Hopkins a lot.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So like there are some guys that, like, aside from doing their standard training for hockey, they're going and they're doing like boxing training, because not only is it about being able to land the blows and stuff and understand the way the flow of a fight goes, it's for the footwork. Because you're literally on skates, so it's about being able to understand where you have to position your feet to get a push for a good swing, be it shooting a puck or swinging a fist at someone's head. Like it's all.
Simmons was good at that too, man.
Yeah, it's all about the science behind it, and being able to work with a person who professionally does exclusively that part of the game that you're trying to expand upon can help broaden that horizon for you. Sort of like taking the time with a guy who's known to be a really good goal scorer to really learn the ins and outs of how they do it can help broaden your horizon as a goal scorer. The same thing with fighting, spending time. I mean, the Flyers on the deadline, I believe we claimed what's his name? Luke Glendening.
Glendening. Yeah.
Which Glendening's been known to drop the gloves. It was almost one of those things. We swapped out Delory. We swapped out Delorier for another guy who does literally the same thing that he does in Glendening. So
right.
You have these guys that are basically. I feel like it was one of those things. Glendening saw a hit happen down there earlier in the game and went to him and went, "Hey man, I may not be out there. Next time that happens, don't take that shit. Just go get him." And Drysdale was to sit there like he hit him with the smelling sauce really quick. Drysdale went, Yeah, I'll do it.
Is he awake? What happened?
I'll kick their ass.
And just put in my direction. I get him. Fight's over. It's okay. It's over.
You got him, big guy.
Oh man.
I had one teammate one time. It was a guy who wasn't like the star, but he was like a top prospect. He actually went on to play for the Montreal Canadiens, but he never made it out of the AHL.
Oh,
But this guy, he dropped the gloves and he had that look, and I'm like, oh boy, he's in trouble. Like I know that look, I know that stance. He doesn't have, like Austin Joy. It is about footwork. So when you're standing parallel, like your skates are standing parallel to your shoulders, all someone has to do is punch you straight, and you're gonna fall backwards. Like that's the thing. That's
that's the
why you're
truth.
supposed to keep your back foot, all your weight on your back foot. That way, when you bob back, you can easily bob forward and lean in.
Right.
So, this is the thing: is this guy? He had his skates forward, shoulder length apart, and I just saw this dude just go to his nose. And dude just dropped like a ton of bricks. Went to the bench. Got looked at by the trainer. Said to the trainer, "So did I win? So did I win?" And he's like, "No. When you fall before the other guy, you lose."
Yeah.
Like he just never grasped it, and it's like, "It's okay, dude. It's okay. I'll get him in the third. Don't worry." And he's like, I didn't win. Like he was really trying to find out whether he won or not. I'm like, no, you did not win. Like you took one
look at the
shot
on
and
me. This guy must look way worse.
Right, exactly, man. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, I think it was another time. I think I went to there was a Flyers game. It was a Riley Cote versus Andre Waugh. And I remember like Riley Cote like TKO'd him, and he's like yapping and stuff. And then the next thing you know, John Tortorella was like, "Dude, sit the fuck down! You what are you doing? You're gonna cost us a penalty." And John Tortorella was like he was like yapping, and John's like kind of the Torch is like, "Dude, sit the fuck down, dumbass! You're gonna get ourselves a penalty."
I forget who Danny Carcillo was fighting the one time.
Yeah,
he had the guy's sweater over his shoulder, over his head. And he's punching him. You could see just the dude, he went limp. Like he just went limp. The ref steps in, the dude falls on the ice. He's like knocked silly. Carcillo's just punching a body at that. Like the last 4 hits of that fight, he's just hitting a body. That's all he's hitting. The dude's not with it. And I'm just like, there's some dudes that just have that knockout punch. And they can knock a dude out flat on their ass.
Still had that. He did have that.
And like the phrase "knocked out standing" is a thing. Like it is a thing.
Oh gosh, like
Aaron
Asham
too. I think Aaron Downey did that.
Aaron Asham used to be one of those guys, man.
Yeah,
when he was playing with Pittsburgh, I forget who it was that he put out, but someone on the Rangers, and when he got separated from him, he did. Just skating to the box, like that's cold, bro.
Yeah, I always watch this one with what's it, Aaron Downey and Jesse Bolorance. Like the one shot stuck
back. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that one's a classic. Just two dudes squared up. The one guy goes to swing, just lean back like literally playing Fight Night on Xbox. Just dip the punch backwards, come right back, bang. Just put Bollery's clean down.
Literally, you can just like see him just hit the
deck.
Yeah. Oh man, I showed that to a buddy of mine one time out, and he was like, "Ooh, damn, dude."
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I still remember that's how I got my wife into hockey. I used to be up late at night because I would work like night shifts at a movie theater.
Yeah.
And so I would sit up and I would just watch random stuff on YouTube, and 90% of the time, my brain always goes back to hockey fights.
Sure.
So I just had them all
one time. She got
up to use the bathroom, comes back in and goes, "What the hell are you watching?" I'm like, "Oh, it's just a compilation of hockey fights." She's like, "They let them do that shit?" Oh yeah. So literally the next day she had off, we watched a bunch of them. I showed her like mic'd up moments of guys going into fights where it's literally just like, "Hey man, you want to go? All right, yeah. All right, cool.
Good luck, man.
Right, yeah. What side do you want?" Like they'll literally ask each other like, "What side do you want to grab?" Like there's rules of engagement
Oh yeah.
to fighting in hockey, and it's such a beautiful process. It's just like yeah, okay, left or right, cool.
My wife
swing away. Refs come in and just like, good job, dude.
My wife has seen hockey fights. She's like, "Oh, you men and your testosterone," and I'm saying, "Hey," I was like, "Sweetie, they're just having a conversation. They're just not saying the words. They're beating the words into each other. It's different, but it's the same. And it's like one will know what the other one means by the end of the fight. And they're just having a conversation. My daughter sees a hockey fight and she goes, "So why did that man punch the other man?" I was like, "Because he said something bad." And she goes, "Well, he shouldn't say anything bad to that guy anymore." And I go, "Well, that's probably a good idea. It's good advice."
That, darling, is what we call a life lesson learned the hard way.
Yes.
Right?
Taught by a 5-year-old. And I'm sitting there going, "Yeah, well, yeah." I was like, "Daddy got in a couple of those." And he's like, "What did you do wrong?" I was like, "I did plenty of things wrong." And she's like, "Well, you shouldn't have. You should have been in the timeout box." That's what she calls the penalty box.
That's
and I'm
great.
like,
That's
I got
awesome.
sent there. I got sent there later, and she's like, "Well, good, you deserved it." And I'm sitting there, go, whoa. Wait, I'm defending my hockey career to my 5-year-old, and I'm sitting there going, I'm sorry I wasn't the scorer. I'm sorry Daddy was not the scorer. But you each has their role in sports.
Yeah,
okay,
just hands up. Oh, I'm so sorry. I needed to protect the boys. Like,
yeah, absolutely. Though I think there was another one. I know we got to move on here. It was actually George Larac mic'd up, and it was against Edmondson, and he's like, he's actually discussing the fight. He's like, "Well, good luck, man. You're gonna need it." He drops the gloves.
George Larac was always like the most stoic man.
Calm as a cucumber,
was getting ready to fight somebody. Because I vividly remember seeing that clip too.
Yeah,
he's like, "Good luck, bud."
Yeah, good luck, man.
He drops and he just grabs this man and throws him around like a rag doll.
I think it was a short Horikoff. He was like fighting.
Yeah, just started pummeling Horikoff.
There's one where Zdeno Chara's mic'd up.
Oh,
and
wow.
He basically tells the one guy, he's like, he does the impersonation of Drago. He's like, "I will break you." and I'm just like, I lost it. I'm like, damn. All right. I'm like, all right, Char. I mean, we know you're freaking tall. Like, you're a freaking rebel.
If he dies, he dies.
He dies. I'm like, okay.
Just chirping in hockey in general is such a beautiful art form.
Oh, it is.
Like, I've seen them where like it's a couple of dudes that used to play together and still sort of like share a home during the off season. And the one dude comes up to him in the face off and he goes, "You hit me again like that, the rent's going up, dude." Like, the multiple times of Claude Giroux calling JVR a pigeon. Like,
oh yes, I love that.
Pigeon.
You stupid pigeon.
Asking Phil Kessel if he had a Coca-Cola before the game.
We're some creative and animated guys. I mean, look, that's the thing.
That was beautiful.
There was times, and I
God,
thought they were honestly made up words, but there were words that were screamed at me from the opposing team, and I'm looking at the coach like, I'm too young. Is that a bad thing that he just said? Did he just say something bad to me? And he's like, "I don't know. I'm not hip enough to know what that language was." I'm like, well, it sounded like he said something bad about me. He's looking at me. He looks mean, and he said something. And he's like, "I don't know. Man. Get Google," like, well before Google Translate. But I was like, that's what I needed at the time, because some of these guys spoke French. Some of them spoke Russian. I was like, that dude just definitely said something bad about me. Like, and I want to know what it was.
For that to be niceties, like.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was like, I don't know what Ozilov is, he is, but damn it, he said something in that Mother Russian tone.
Like I don't know what Alexiev over there was saying, but my gosh, he does not look happy.
No, it's like he's staring me down and he's saying stuff. I don't know what he's saying.
You sit,
You don't know.
you sit on the bench, you look over towards their bench, and he's still looking at you. You look to one of your guys like he's pissed, isn't he?
I'm just sitting there going, okay, that dude's got a bug up his ass towards me for something, but no one translates for Russian. No one speaks Russian on this team. Like, can we get a translator? Because I don't need my ass beat because this guy's going to drop the gloves and I don't know what he's doing.
Yeah, I got you. I don't mean to change the subject here, but this was a fun topic. Obviously.
This was a hockey night on with this week in Phillies.
Yeah,
Flyers hockey.
Yeah, this week at Flyers hockey. So I got a couple more questions here before we wrap up here. So tonight the Flyers got a good one against the Rangers. Trying to get more 2 points out of it more than anything. So
there'll be some fights in that game for sure.
For sure, absolutely. So for me, I'll ask you this. This is a 2-part question for you both here. Simply put here, how the Flyers continue to have the same level of sustained success that they had all this time, especially, and when you know, I think tonight more than anything for the Flyers here too, for this key component for this Ranger team, I think they're going to be hunting for bear here tonight, especially the last time that the Rangers were in Philly, and I have to say, I think it might be. Like whatever they're doing right now, I think the one thing that they have to do here more than anything, and I think this is going to be a get right game once again for the Flyers here tonight, and I would be sure that it's going to feel like a home. It's going to feel like a playoff game at the barn here tonight more than anything.
Yeah, absolutely, and this is definitely a key game, and this is definitely a game where it's not just a rivalry game, it's not just a meaningful game, but it's a game that the Flyers really need to just stay the pedal on the floor. And I think a couple of the keys for sure for me are they have to get out to the fireball start that the Flyers have been getting out to lately. They have to play the Rangers like they know how. Like Zibanejad, I know I butchered that name, but
no, you're good.
That he is a Flyers killer, and so we need to keep an eye on him. But more to the point, we have to stay in the game. We can't let the Rangers come in and we can't come out flat. We got to make sure that we come out ready to fire. Here's the other thing is that Dan Villard just passed 20 wins in the season this past weekend against Pittsburgh. My thing is you just got to keep building. We talked about it before. Dan Villard is going to be a key cog in the success or failure of this Flyers season. And having him in the home stretch and being able to put more wins, stack more wins together. You know, this guy, if this goaltender gets to 30 wins in a season, which is going to be tough, but it's doable. But if he gets to 30 wins in a season, there's got to be a conversation of, okay, this is the goaltender moving forward. Right. Because 30 wins in a season for a goaltender is not easy.
It's
not. So I would be highly impressed. But yeah, I think Dan Villard has to continue to do Dan Villard things. I think the Flyers have to come out and come out like gangbusters out of the gate, not let the Rangers kind of take any kind of breath. And especially if they're the last couple games, the Flyers have struggled on the power on the shorthand, on the PK. They need to tighten the reins up on that because I feel like the Rangers can make them pay if they take too many dumb penalties. Now, again, I say there's going to be fights in this game. It's going to be a chippy game, folks. Like this is going to be.
It does feel like a playoff atmosphere too.
Oh yeah. And with a lot on the line, that just makes the edginess a lot more edgier. And so that doesn't take anything away. That adds gasoline to the fire. And so, for me, I see focus. I see persistence. And, I'll reiterate the other P, the poise. And I think the boys have to have that. They have to come out firing, and they have to get strong goaltending like they have. But stay out of the box. Stay out of the box.
For sure, absolutely. Same question I had for you, Austin. This is definitely have to be a get right game for the Flyers, especially the last. I mean, I would say the last time that they played the Rangers was a definitely a get right game for this one. But I think now more than ever is that you do want to get momentum, especially in at home when it matters the most, more than anything, too.
Yeah, and especially when you consider the Rangers coming into this are winners of 2 of their last 5. I mean,
Sure.
it's something's been happening out there in New York, and the Panarin trade I feel like signaled a lot of what we've been seeing from the on ice product. But overall, like Joe said, you want to get out to a lead early. You want to jump all over this team. They play a lot worse when they're down, and the further down you can put them, the better off you're going to be, especially if you can do it early. Another thing that Joe mentioned that I would echo as well, play a clean game, because you put yourself in the box quite a few times against Pittsburgh and gave them some opportunities to keep themselves in that game. So if you can play clean, it's going to help with establishing that lead and sort of keeping the pressure on New York to try and fight back in a game that you hope that you can put out of reach before they even get a chance to really try.
Yep.
And the third one is going to be the goaltending. It's looking like the matchup will more than likely be Vladar Shesterkin, which is a very solid matchup of 2 incredibly talented young goaltenders. But you just hope that the defense can stay strong in front of Vladar. Glenn Denning blocked a lot of shots in that game against Pittsburgh, so you hope that these guys are being more willing to put themselves in front of a lot of pucks to be able to help out Vladar in securing the win. The more shots that don't come anywhere near the net are less opportunities that they have to be able to put points on the board. So right. the more lockdown that you can play, the more oppressive of an offense that you can conduct in the Rangers defensive zone, the more you can make them feel like they just can't get to you at any turn of the game, the easier this game's going to turn out for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's how we can leave it right there. Because the thing that I'll tell you my two. Obviously we'll talk about the weekend for the Flyers, but I'll just get you guys a record on the Flyers if we have the opportunity. But for me, I think you guys both nailed it on the head. I think you guys both said it best here. I think that the Flyers desperately need here tonight is that, for me, it's just that I want the same momentum that they had in the 2 games against Toronto, and against Pittsburgh, how they bounced back. I mean, that's number one, key priority number one. And number 2, like Austin said, the goaltender situation, and especially you said it too, Joe, is that goaltender, especially you have to rely on that. Hard to believe he has 20 wins now, and it doesn't feel like he has 20 wins, but if he gets into a streak and then he gets 30 wins to close out the year, I mean, there has to be, like you said, there has to be expectations that they, and also we have to rely on that this could be the guy going forward more than anything. There has to be a lot of, definitely a lot of talks about what the Flyers need to do here, especially obviously we'll worry about that in the offseason when the time calls for it, but hopefully, but right now I think Vladar has played well. I thought he played well on Thursday. Saturday. I mean, he played well again on Monday, but most importantly here too is that if you want to keep that focus, that you want to stay in the postseason picture, you got to beat the teams in that Metropolitan, the division. I mean, this week is going to be real tough for them, obviously, but I do think they will handle the teams very well, like the teams like the Rangers here tonight. And I think the Rangers are basically looking to try to rebuild more than anything. So I would guess the Rangers, after that Panarin trade, there was a little bit of talks about that, and even keeping a close eye on, like Joey said, about Mika Zibanejad for the most part. And more than anything, I mean, Shesterkin's been good, but he's has some struggles in this game. But the other thing I would say is that if you can jump on them early and get off to I wouldn't say an early goal, but just get on them, play with some gas, play with a lot of juice early on to try not to give them momentum, and at the same time too, keep playing the same kind of hockey that you played for the last couple of weeks or so. And more than anything, I mean, I would say that atmosphere is going to be really it's going to be lit up tonight. I think it's going to be a great atmosphere. Kind of remind you of a playoff game, especially like you see before the Rangers fans coming to Philly every time, and it feels like now it's finally looking in our favor now that the Flyers fans are going to take over their barn again, and kind of like what Chaz Palminteri would say, now you just can't leave. No, so that'll be the most important thing here tonight, though. But honestly, this week will be a little bit. I mean, it will be a test for the Flyers, but every week is a test for them. But I think this will be a big test for them tonight to see what they do with the Rangers. And I think I like their chances winning this game here tonight. And I see them actually the same thing here too this week is that I think they'll do well with Minnesota. And like I don't know who they closed. I don't know what they got coming up after Minnesota, but those two games right here tonight, and the Rangers and the Wild, I think it'll be a very good test for them, and I think it'll be a very positive going forward for them, especially like that you desperately need points, especially to try to get that number 8 seed, and also trusting that Boston will lose a game or two here and there too.
Yeah, the schedule for the week is Rangers tonight. At home against Washington on Wednesday.
That's right.
On the road against Minnesota Thursday. At home against Columbus on Saturday to round out the week.
So I say that the Flyers will like take 3 out of 4. I would say 3 out of 4.
And the way the situation's looking right now, you're 7 points back of that wild card spot right now. It's not much ground that you've gained, but you've gained a point, coming out of the break so far. Just keep chipping away at that lead. There's a lot of hockey left. 7 points can swing very quickly in this league. So you just have to be able to just keep pushing forward. The grind started the second that you came out of the Olympic break. Do not stop until it's over.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Joe?
Yeah, I feel like this team needs to keep the pedal down, and they need to do 3 or 4. That this is not about, before we would all kind of pontificate whether or not they would be able to do 3 or 4 or 2 or 4, and we would. But if this team has got any chance to get into the postseason, they have to do 3 or 4, and they have to do it not for anything other than the fact that they're playing a lot of the Metropolitan, division this week. So
this is gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough. But here's the thing: is if you want to be in the playoffs, you have to play tough. You have to play tough games. You have to play tough teams. You have to play tough. It's time to buck up, boys.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the most important thing here too is that like you got definitely need to get some points out of it in your Metropolitan. And look, if you lose to Minnesota, that's fine. I mean, I wouldn't worry about Minnesota, but Minnesota's like one team that's just as good as the Flyers right now. So
but since they beat the Avalanche, when Avalanche were just knocking people off, I don't put anything over this team.
That's true. That's the truth. Absolutely. All right, so basically, I guess we can wrap up this week's edition of This Week in Flyers Hockey. But like always, guys, it's been fun. I really want to say thank you to Austin, Hammel, and Joey Marks for doing such an admirable job like they always do. Austin, you know the drill. Where can people see you next, my friend?
Yeah, obviously right here again next week on This Week in Flyers Hockey. This Wednesday at about 11:15, 11:30ish on Mitch's morning show on the Hardcore Sports Network. Nice. I pop in every week to talk Flyers hockey and Phillies baseball and anything else that happens to come to our minds. I went off about Nick Nurse last week.
Did you really?
Mitch literally asked me, he was like, if they fire Nick Nurse, who do you want them to bring in? I slid back from my microphone and yelled, literally anyone else.
I got you. So
aside from that, man. Over on twitch.tv/Hambo26, still running through Claire Obscure Expedition 33, still grinding out Diablo 4, and also playing Baldur's Gate 3 with some friends and doing D&D every Sunday. So cool. Lots of fun stuff going on over there as well.
Excellent. And Joey, we got a jam-packed show coming up this week with Patterson Ebb, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to recap a little bit of the Eagles offseason and free agency starting. Legal tampering started today at noon, and official signings will happen on Wednesday. A lot of movement already, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot more movement in the next couple of days. We're going to talk a little bit of Phillies baseball as spring training winds down, and some of the guys start to kind of ramp up there for the opening day, and we'll start to kind of preview a little bit of the opening day.
2 weeks
So
away.
yeah, a lot of interesting stuff. But I want to also say to the Nick Nurse comment, we need to bring Jay Wright to be the coach. Like
That ain't
enough is
happening.
enough.
That ain't happening, Joe. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be the elephant in the room, but that ain't gonna happen. Jay Wright's got the life, man. Maybe Chris Jenkins, maybe Chris Jenkins will like the coach, or maybe Ronnie Arcidiacono.
Yes,
or
Danny
somebody.
Arcidiacono. Yep.
Arcidiacono, right? Yeah, absolutely.
Or Jameer Nelson.
That's a better one. I'll be okay with Jameer now. No, Dawn Staley. Get Dawn Staley in here.
There you go.
She's done a great job.
Break the ceiling.
Right, break the camel's back, right? All right, boys, that's going to wrap it up, like I said, here today for this edition of This Week of Flyers Hockey. Thank you for everybody for chiming in, and thank you for everybody for doing just a great job all year long. But we will be back with you again next week to talk more Flyers. Hopefully the countdown of maybe the Flyers making the postseason. Hopefully, still a chance, guys. There's still a chance in the woodwork. So hopefully we'll definitely dissect that more next week, and hopefully get back. Well, hopefully the Flyers get some wins this week, and also to try to spring that board into a little bit of more of a streak and see Boston continue to lose in every which way too. So now for everyone behind the scenes and for everyone that made it work here, for Austin Hammel, for Joey Marks, and for myself, and like I always say, from all of us to all of you, thank you for everybody for listening. Good night and good hockey. Let's hope we get more wins out of it. Until then, we'll see you guys next week.